Good morning, lovely.
Oh, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm very well indeed. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. I saw that th link and I thought, oh, a great opportunity to say hello.
Go. Oh my,
Good morning,
Hello.
Stephanie.
here we go.
Hey,
Hello.
Stephanie.
Yay! Oh, nice to see you.
Oh, so great to see you.
Good to see you.
Perfect.
How's things over in Germany?
White.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
Frozen
really?
everything, minus 10 degrees. Even
Wow.
our horses, they are full with ice.
Oh, no. Poor
Oh, bless
thing.
them. Have you got any ice up in Scotland?
No,
Uh,
rain.
no,
Rain.
it's
Rain.
Yeah, it's either coming straight down or going sideways. It just depends how windy it is.
I mean, even us, we don't have snow, and we normally are the first ones to get snow in England because we're quite high up. Nothing. It's just really grey and miserable.
I
But hey
know.
ho, hey
Hey.
ho,
Hey,
hey
oh,
ho.
yeah. The sunshine is here.
Yeah.
So, Stephanie, charity firewalks.
Yay!
What do you need
Okay,
to know?
I prepared a few questions.
Excellent.
So, in a line. So my interest today is how to run a charity firewalk that maximize the fundraising impact while keeping the ethical clarity, safety, and focus. I'm responsible for the firewalk itself,
Yep.
I guess, not for the full event organization. So I'm especially interested in the best practice as this interface. So, the first question about ethical boundaries. When a firewalk is primarily designed as a fundraising tool, where do you personally see the ethical boundary between motivation and pressure?
So when you say pressure, what do you mean by pressure?
Pressure. And there's a social pressure. Maybe the people
Ah,
actually
okay.
come to donate, but then they maybe it's not the
Sure.
self-empowerment workshops.
Sure. So, in terms of, because there's kind of two parts to that. And the first part is dealing with the organizers. So, with the organizers, they have booked me to come and run an event. Good morning, Dennis. They've booked me to come and run an event. I'm not involved in any of the fundraising. I don't touch any of the sponsorship money or anything like that. That's their responsibility. Um, but typically, what they're looking at is they've done skydives, bungee jumps, adrenaline challenge type activities, and they simply see this as it's just another activity like that. And so the first thing is getting them on board with that's not what it's about. You'll get that, but that's not the reason for it. And so I'll typically have a discussion with them. And because charities, they tend to be supporting people who are going through difficulty, can't support themselves, are facing their own set of challenges. I very much frame it as firewalking is about uh, giving you a controlled environment in which you can explore how you show up when challenge shows up for you. And this might
Mm,
be people who have physical disabilities or challenges, mental health issues. There's a whole homelessness, poverty, so many different charities. But they're all, to some degree, it's because the people they support are facing challenge. And so by framing it as it's about how you show up when challenge shows up for you, but being able to do it in a controlled environment. And once you get their head round that, and they realize that it's not just about walking across a bed of red hot coals, they tend to be more invested in it because now they can see how it really connects with what they do. So getting the organizers on board is the first instance.
yeah.
Um, I always talk about and with the organizers and right at the outset of the event. So once we're in the room and the participants are there, I talk about, and I say to them, particularly if they've never done a firewalk before, the line I always use is, this is where I drop the bombshell. Firewalking is not about walking on fire.
Yeah.
It's about making empowered decisions. And that decision might be, tonight's not my night. And we would celebrate that as much, if not more, than if you just went along with it because everybody else is doing it, because that's not an empowered decision. So tonight is about making empowered decisions. What's right for you in the moment. Now, you might make the decision that tonight's not your night, but you're not tied to that decision for life. In 10 seconds' time, you can change your mind. But I would much rather that than you just, oh, everybody else is just doing it. I'll just do it and I'll just get it over and done with, because that's not empowered. So making it about empowerment rather than getting across the coals.
Okay. At that point, at what point would you at what point would you say a charity firewalk raises money but loses integrity? This,
Where you are coerced to sacrifice your own standards. So
hmm
I have had some charities who say to me, "Oh, now my standard is I want at least 90 minutes with the audience before
uh,
Firewalk." Now some of them will say, "Oh well, can we just skip the talky bit and just get to the firewalking?" I'm like, "No, let me explain it this way. If this was a skydive, when you do a skydive or a bungee jump, they give you a very specific set of instructions. And that's because they want you to have a very specific experience, the best one that they can offer you. Now, if I was to start cutting things out, which part would you like me to cut out? Now, if this was a skydive, would you like me to cut out the bit about pulling the cord at 3,000 feet? Because you'll have a very different experience if we skip that bit. So everything that I do in those 90 minutes is done for a purpose. None of it can be cut. And if they go, well, the last people did it in 45 minutes, or, well, we've only got 45 minutes, or, we've only got half, well, I'm sorry, we can't do it then.
yeah. Preparation. Okay. Okay, from that experience, what are the most common misconceptions organizers have about charity firewalks?
But the one I've already said, that it's just another
Yes, you said them.
challenge activity. They
Yeah,
think, some of them don't even realize that there's a sort of briefing part to it. Um, and then once you explain that there is this briefing, motivational seminar, whatever they decide to call it, I'm not precious about it. I let them call it whatever they want. I try to discourage them calling it the safety briefing because that just sounds boring. Um, but they think that either there isn't any part of that, or that it is literally, it's a right, this is how you walk on fire, this is how to place you. They think it's very practical and they don't understand what it's really about.
hmm
So that's probably the biggest misconception.
Yeah. So you take 90 minutes for the preparation before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Typically that's because my, my,
it,
my firewood will take between an hour and a quarter and an hour and a half
yeah,
to burn down. So when we start the seminar, outside, the fire is getting lit.
yeah, that's a part of this. Okay. About the safety, the most important question actually for me is
Sure.
how do you separate the participants, the spectators, and the staff in a large, dark setting?
Okay. So the first thing
Yeah,
is try not to have it completely dark.
yeah,
Um,
but it's
uh,
from,
yeah. The
yeah,
next thing is we set up a perimeter. So where the fire is, we will set
yeah,
up a perimeter. Sometimes they use fences. Sometimes we just use stakes with like, the hazard tape, the yellow and black tape.
yeah,
I have ropes that I use, but we set up a perimeter. And my fire team are advised the only people who are allowed inside there are my fire team and participants who have a wristband.
yes, okay,
So when right at the very start, before we even begin the seminar, participants are asked to sign the release form, and myself or my team manage that so that when we see them sign it and hit confirm, That's when they get the wristband. And it's, the security ones that you can't take off and put back on, that once they're on, they're on. So and big thing at the start of the seminar, right? Everybody should have the show me your wristbands. Everybody show me okay. Anybody not got
Ah,
a wristband? So I know that everybody in the room, because the people in the room, there's no spectators for that part. It's only for participants. Spectators are somewhere else. So when we come out, the perimeter area is probably 12 meters by 12 meters for a single lane firewalk. Bigger if we've got a big crowd. Um, and I will always say to the organizers, if you're going to have a lot of spectators, you need to have people to manage them, because my job and my fire team's job is managing the fire and the participants, not your
yeah,
crowd.
yeah. Extra team for the spectators.
Yeah.
That's good.
But they provide the extra team, not you.
Ah, sure.
Because they'll have volunteers and team members and people who work for the charity. And they'll be used to managing crowds. That's not your job. Your job is to manage the participants and the fire, you and your team.
Okay. Somebody else of you got some questions, or I go
Yeah.
on with the next one?
Jump in. Yeah.
Okay, but what was it as? Okay, beyond the fire itself, what are the most underestimated safety risks at a charity fire walk event?
Um, and again, most of this comes from misconceptions. Um,
Misconceptions.
I've seen, posts go out with other charities who are organizing firewalks, and they put out, the promotional material, and it says things like, oh, it's completely safe. And,
Yeah,
that tends to be that it's completely safe. That that there isn't there's no challenge in it. That it's not difficult. That there isn't ways to seriously injure yourself. And again, I always start out at the start of the night going, I've seen people say that firewalking is completely safe. The only way to make a firewalk completely safe is not to do it. This carries some risk,
yeah,
and I'm going to share with you tonight, important information so that you can have the best possible experience. Now, you're all human beings, you can all do your own thing, and if you choose to do your own thing, you might not have the experience that I want you to have. But that's on you. I can only share with you the best way to engage with tonight, to commit tonight.
Hey Barry, will you be sharing this recording?
Yes, yes.
Good.
So I am recording this just for legal purposes. Yes, it's being recorded, and what I'll do is I'll email it out to anybody that wants access to the recording.
It's good. I can't write that fast this early in the morning. Uh,
Sorry. What
That's
time is it
okay.
for you, Dennis?
It's almost 5:15.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, bless you. Thank you for your commitment.
Well, it's very timely. So I'm at the earliest stages of a charity fire walk. There's
Sure,
been a conversation, um, and then for us, it's actually for me, it's a car dealership. Um, and they want to do the charity fire walk in front of the car dealership,
sure.
which is going to be wonderful. We'll have a lot of extra light out there, but we're only at the point of, hey, we'd like to do a charity fire walk and look at that, and we have had no more conversations. So
Okay.
rather than at the point of, hey, we're going forward with one, I'd like to back up to the early conversations of, okay, we've got interest.
Yep,
Now what the hell do I do?
sure. So, I have a bit of a reputation of being a bit of a terrier, which is if somebody shows any interest in something, and excuse my language, I won't leave them alone until either they book or tell me to fuck off. So, I will not harass them, that's maybe slightly strong. But if somebody says, oh, I'm interested in this, we're going to have a conversation about it. So I'm relentless until either they go, we've changed our mind, or here's my credit card. Um, so the first thing is getting them on the phone, because doing it via email or messages or anything like that is you just lose so much. So getting them on the phone, and I'm always the first thing I explain is I get them excited about the idea of it before I tell them the practical side of it. So tell them what it's about. So, Dennis, I don't know if you were here when I was saying that, I explained firewalking is not about walking on fire. It's about how you show up when challenge shows up for you and exploring that side of it. It's about mindset. It's about belief systems. It's about the stories we tell ourselves and then we believe them. Um, and the way I frame it is, at the end of the night, my hope is that as people step off the coals, they look back and go, do you know what? I didn't think that was possible, but I was wrong. What else have I been wrong about? What else did I not think I was young enough, old enough, smart enough, pretty enough? What stories did I tell myself? And perhaps they were just stories. So get them excited about it, and then I give them, okay, so to do it, here's what we need. Let me run through what an evening looks like from your participants' point of view so that you understand what we're going to do. So you'll have a 30-minute registration where you'll tick names off a list, but I get them to sign my waiver. We do a 90-minute briefing. That has to take place away from spectators, without distractions, not in a bar, not in a restaurant with lots of. It has to be where they can focus and they're comfortable. Here in Scotland, sometimes they want to do it outdoors in November. That's not pleasant for anyone to sit outside, in the cold, in a November evening where it's, 1 or 2 degrees and raining or snowing. So they have to be comfortable. They have to have, well lit so that they can see your presentation. And there has to be space for whatever you're going to present. So making sure that the indoor space is adequate. Um, and then making sure that you're going to come out and you're going to do the firewalk, however long you allow for that. What I always say is, it probably about half an hour, but it takes as long as it takes. But after that, we'll come back into the room again, just the participants, and that allows me to do essentially 3 things. First of all, it allows me to kind of put a wrapper around it. Remember, this isn't about firewalking. That's kind of the first thing. Second thing, it lets me do a wellness check just to make sure everybody's had a good experience. And anybody who's got any fire kisses around, give them the opportunity to speak to me. That way, nobody can go away going, oh, I got a fire kiss and nobody was there to take care of me. If you give them the opportunity, if they choose not to, then nobody can criticize you for it. And thirdly, I typically will get one of the organisers or a representative from the charity to stand up in front of them and thank them. This is how much money we've raised. This is what we're going to do with the money you've raised. So that when they leave, it's about the charity. It's not about you. It's not about the coals. It's about the reason they were there. So I outline this is what your participants are going to need, what they're going to experience, and then I talk about what we're going to need. So we're going to need an outdoor space. I need to be able to bring my vehicle in. It needs to be whatever size you specify. I say 12 meters by 12 meters. It needs to be on a firm level surface. It needs to be tarmac, concrete, or grass. I need access to an outdoor water point. Those 2 spaces, so where the briefing is taking place and where the firewalking is taking place, they need to be close. They need to be able to walk between the two in a couple of minutes. Because there's no point getting them to the point when they're ready to firewalk and then having to take a 15-minute bus ride across town to where the fire is. So, stipulating what you want, and that lets them see, okay, first of all, lets them know that you know what you're talking about and you're very clear about what you expect. Secondly, as a follow-up to that, what I also tend to do is, I'll say to them, look, when you start talking to the venues, because if you've got a charity organizer, typically they don't have their own venue. So they're going to start talking to a third party, the venue owners, who will have groundskeepers, health and safety people. I always say to them, look, I'm happy to get involved in those discussions because they're going to have questions. Essentially, you're saying, can we come to your place and light a big fire? If they don't have questions, I'm more concerned. So I'm happy to be involved in those discussions. I'll come out and do a site visit if they want. And sometimes that's just politics. It's turning up and giving them a face and shaking their hand and telling them what you've already told them on the phone, but now they're looking in your eye while you tell them. So doing a site visit, I always offer to do a site visit if I feel it's warranted. but I will work with them whilst they're choosing and agreeing a venue, because not only do they want it to be near to where they are, maybe some connection to the charity and within their budget, but it also needs to fulfill what you need to be able to deliver the event safely.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? What else you got?
Do you make a special contract with the organizers? Or is this
Yeah. So, well, not a special contract as such. So the way I work it is, if they're going to book me, and I don't consider any event booked until somebody's got skin in the game, until they've paid some money.
yeah.
So I ask for a deposit up front, which
Hmm.
secures the date in my calendar, and then the bulk of my fees. So here in the UK, the average charity firewalk is £1,500. So I typically ask for a £300 deposit. That lets me know that they're committed, and that's non-refundable. So no matter what happens next, you're keeping the £300 because you've blocked that date off in your calendar. Then I will ask for the balance of the fees no later than 2 weeks before the event.
Yeah.
And that's, I say to them, look, I understand you're going to cover my costs with ticket sales, sponsorship, partnership agreements, and all of that's going to take time. So the deposit lets me know you're serious, and I give you as much time as possible to recoup the greater part of my fees.
Hmm. Okay, thank you. How strict are you personally regarding alcohol? And how
Absolutely,
do we
100%.
enforce that boundaries and practice? This is not because it's somehow, yeah, it can,
So, I'm absolutely strict on alcohol. If you've been drinking, you're out. And
no,
I always say to my organisers, I have the final say. If I think that someone presents a risk either to themselves or to other people in the group, I reserve the right to withdraw them. No
yeah,
questions. My word is final.
yeah.
Also, from an
Mhm.
insurance point of view, certainly, if there was an incident and I was found to be negligent in, I allowed someone to walk who was under the influence of alcohol. I always frame it as anything that might impair your judgment. So I'm not limiting it to alcohol. Anything that might impair your judgment is the phrase that I use, because that covers a multitude of things. Because I need people to be making decisions about their own well-being and be clear-headed while they're doing it.
Yeah, sure. It's already in my wave, in the contract, what they
Yep.
sign, it's already inside that they
Yep.
haven't. Okay.
But it's always worth speaking with your organisers, when you're having those
Yes.
early conversations and saying, we can't have it in a bar with an open bar because I don't allow people to drink.
Yeah.
So being clear about that up front.
Yeah. Even it's not a mix in between party and
Yeah.
Firewalk, it's a real, okay.
I mean, I always say to them, they can celebrate afterwards in whatever way they want to, but whilst they're mine, no alcohol.
Mhm. So you draw a clear line between audience and participants.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay,
So
that's as well.
so for the briefing, the seminar, whatever, there's no spectators. What
Yeah,
I always say to the organisers, however, is that's an opportunity for you to raise more money because your supporters, the people, the family and the friends who are coming to support the person who's taking part, in a lot of cases, they will arrive at the same time. So while you're lighting the fire is a bit of a spectacle. It's great for them to see, but there's an opportunity because the fire will take a little over an hour to burn down. If you've got something to keep those people on site and to keep them putting their hands into their pocket, you can, maximize your fundraising. So whether it's, selling merchandise or having a pizza truck or doing a raffle or a tombola or, a pub quiz or anything, entertainers, something that keeps them on site and keeps them spending their money for the charity.
ah, that's cool. Mhm. So you already said that on this non-seminar formats, you need 90 minutes for the preparation. Do you do things like arrow breaking, or is it just
Oh,
teachings?
oh no.
Or you have some practical things?
So depending on the size of the group, typically what I will do is, so I'll lead them through. I start off by kind of telling them, look, up front, firewalking is not about walking on fire. I talk a little bit about, I kind of address the elephant in the room, which is, some of you are sat there and thinking, I don't know, how did I get signed up to this? Thank you, Dennis. How did I get signed up to this? You don't get to decide whether you're going to firewalk now. You decide when you're stood next to the fire with your shoes off. Because right now you're making that decision based on what you think it's going to be, and you haven't gone through the process of preparation yet. So park all of that and just enjoy the next hour and a half. And so, I'll talk about things. I'm trying to think. So, how do I typically start? Um, so I'll talk about belief systems. How the things that we believe can manifest, and the reticular activating system, how we find evidence for the things that we believe. Um, I talk about physiology, so how your body chemistry is affected by your thinking. I do the exercise with lemons. You know the one with lemons?
Ah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So
famous.
I
I
do
love
lemons,
it to do
and
it.
yeah, and I'll get 4 or 5 people out the audience, but I'll have everyone in the audience doing it with a pretend lemon. Yeah, so they're biting into an imaginary lemon,
Yeah,
while five
yeah.
people are up here biting into a real lemon. Um, I'll do a glass walk, which is
Ah,
about, oh yeah, yeah. So I'll do again, maybe only for 5 or 6 people, not for everyone. So I get 5 or 6 people up, because if I do it, then it's just Barry doing a glass walk. But if their friends and their family are doing it, then wow, that's special. So I get them up, and 5 or 6 people, and I'll make it about focus, about paying attention, about taking feedback. I'll do an arrow break again, 5 or 6 people. Um, and I make it about commitment, about making decisions and taking action based on those decisions.
mhm.
Um, the reason ideally I'll only bring 5 or 6 people up is because then there's however many, 20, 30, 40, 50 people in the audience who didn't get to do it. So the next time they want to sign up and be the lucky one. So, there's that element of it as well. But, getting 5 or 6 people, if you've got 30 people in the room, for them all to go through the process, that means, if you've got 30 people, that's 29 people who are watching somebody else firewalk, or sorry, glass walk. That's a long time. You're going to lose them. So five or six
Yeah.
people, it's enough to prove the point, and get the other 25 people going, oh, I wish I'd known. I would have volunteered for that. And when I do those exercises, I tell them what it's about. So like the arrow break, I'll talk about we've all got things in our life that we're deciding, that we're making a decision about. Who's deciding something? And, a few hands will go up. Okay, great. Well, you're not. You're procrastinating, because if you make a decision, you take action. That's how decisions work. If you haven't taken action, you haven't decided. You're just keeping your options open. So, who would like to have the experience of making a decision and committing to it? And half a dozen hands will go, right, I'll bring those up, and then I'll explain what the exercise is. So they don't know they're coming up to do an arrow break. They don't know they're coming up to do a glass walk. They're coming up to learn about focus and paying attention, or they're coming up to learn about decision making and taking action. And that makes it more valuable, because it's not just about the exercise then. Because you would, if you asked who wants to do an arrow break, you would get people who just want to snap an arrow but not know why.
Yeah, fantastic.
So yes, I'll do lemons, I'll do an arrow break, I'll do glass walk. There's a couple other little things that I do, um, but it's keeping people engaged, because if you're just talking at them for half an hour, sorry, an hour and a half, they get bored. They'll pay attention, but they'll get bored. Whereas if you can engage them and get people up and get volunteers and, it keeps them more engaged.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. The last one I would like to know is about the fundraising and handling the donations.
Sure.
So, what level of transparency do participants expect today, even in smaller or the first time charity events?
Sure.
And the
So,
organizers, how you handle this? Yeah.
so I have nothing. So I'm booked to run an event. And that's,
Mm-hmm.
I take a single fee and I turn up and I deliver the event. The organizer from the charity is in charge of getting the people booked, raising the money, handling all the sponsorship. I'm completely hands off on that. So,
Okay.
one, there's only me and my wife, so it's a relatively small business. We couldn't do that for all the events that we run. But secondly, it means I'm completely transparent. Nobody can ever accuse me of doing anything with the sponsorship money because I'm completely unconnected to it.
Yeah.
So the
Very clear.
charities, yeah, I mean that way, the charities, they are experts in dealing with their audience. They know who their supporters are. They know how to talk to them. They know how to engage them. If I was to get involved at that level, one, it would take up more of my time, but I wouldn't be as good at it as the charity organizer is because it's their people, it's their audience.
Yeah.
So the
Thank you.
model
Yeah.
here in the UK is typically you pay a registration fee, which is depending on the charity and depending on the demographic of their audience, somewhere between 25 to 40 pounds. And then there's a requirement to raise or a request to raise a certain amount of sponsorship. Again, it depends on the demographic but typically it's between 100 and 150 pounds per person.
Mhm. Okay.
What that means. So, for example, if you've got a charity that thinks, well, we can probably get 40 people, and they're going to charge £30 each. Well, there you go. There's £1,200 up front. So even if they take a slight loss on covering my fees, if each one of those 40 people raises at least £100, there's £4,000 for the charity. And typically they raise more. Here in the UK, typically if there's 30 people in the room, I normally hear that they've raised in sponsorship between £4,000 to £6,000. If there's 50 people in the room, normally they're getting close to about £10,000. We have had two events that I ran which were exceptional. One was 30 guys, and these are not the norm, so don't quote these. 30 guys who came together for Prostate Cancer Scotland, and between 30 of them, they raised £14,000. And there was 54 people for Chest, Heart and Stroke Scotland who raised £22,500. Exceptional, but it shows what's possible. If you've got a fundraising team that's really engaged with their supporters and really supporting them, that really gets them on board.
Yeah. Okay.
What I would also advise you do is you put together like a pack for your organizers. So things like photos or videos that you can send to them that they can then use to promote the event. Because if they sell the event out, you've pretty much guaranteed you're going to get a booking next year. So if you can supply them with all the material that they need to get their audience excited about it.
Mhm.
And so sometimes that includes, how to talk about it. So paragraphs of text talking about firewalking. So that when they put out the stuff, it sounds like your firewalk. It sounds like they're talking about your firewalk rather than what they think a firewalk is.
Yeah. Well, the time is almost finished, I see.
Yes.
Okay, one last question.
Sure.
If you had to give me a single recommendation for my first public charity firewalk, what would it be?
For the event or for the preparation?
For the event.
For the event, make it fun. Make it fun for your participants. Make it exciting, make it fun, make it engaging. Because you could spend 90 minutes, you could prepare them for a firewalk, and at the end of the night, they go away and they go, great, I've done a firewalk. But if you make it exciting, if you make it fun, Duke has seen me do mine, and mine's is very high energy. By the time people come out to Firewalk, they are bouncing off the walls. And the reviews that I get are pretty good. But that's because I make it exciting and make it engaging. I get their energy up, I raise their noom, which isn't the way that I would do every Firewalk. But when you've only got 90 minutes, the most efficient way to get people ready to Firewalk and get them engaged is just to raise their noom, get them excited about it, get them having fun.
I can absolutely confirm that Barry is great at that.
Is that good? Does that answer anything, or any final
Yeah, one
questions?
last thing, Barry.
Sure.
How do you work with promoters from our like media, social media? How do you leverage that to help grow it, right? So for me, this will be obviously in the UK. I remember when I lived there, right? Charity work is huge across the
Yeah.
entire span of the UK. It's different here in the States. So, this is starting it. There's a huge opportunity for it.
Yeah.
How do you start to engage so that you're building future charity opportunities?
You have to take a risk, and this is what I did in my first year. I've only got sort of 2 minutes left, so I will try to
Yeah.
blast through this. So the way that I did it was I went to charities and said, I want to organize an event for you. I would take care of the ticket sales. That was how I covered my costs. They would still manage the sponsorship. So, Dennis, as a charity organizer, you would put out this event to your audience and you would want them to book tickets directly with Barry, but they would be fundraising for your charity and you would deal with the fundraising aspect of it. So, Barry gets paid for providing the event through ticket sales. Dennis, as the charity representative, gets the benefit of the sponsorship. So, there's zero risk for you. Because if 5 people turn up, you're going to get the sponsorship from 5 people. You've had zero outlay. If 50 people turn up, zero risk. You've now got the sponsorship from 50 people. Barry, however, carries the bigger risk, which is if 5 people turn up, I've probably lost £400 or £500. But, and it happens, you get good media, you get good, reviews, you get good testimonials. It gives you stuff to feed into the next one. But that's where it becomes really important to support your organizers. And some of them, they go, well, there's no risk. So, I'll put out an email and that's it. That's all they do. But, if they want to benefit from it as much as you want to benefit from it, they need to be, constantly speaking as if they had paid you the money for it. So really promoting it to their audience. So it's, it does carry a risk, but it gets your name out there.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Well, in remaining 45 seconds, I'll thank you all for turning up. I'll make sure the recording. I'll just make a note of email addresses. What to do if you send the. What I'll do is I'll put my email address into the chat. Ping me an email and I'll send you the recording. I'll pop a little note in the chat as well, just saying for anybody who couldn't be here, if they want the recording, ping me an email and I'll send a link over. But perfect. That's grand. I've got yours there,
Thank you
Dennis.
so much.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for turning up. Have a great day.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Barry.
Take care.
Enjoy your day.
You too.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.